Well, staying with Westminster City Council and their After Dark strategy, designed to create what the council say will be a safer, more accessible and more inclusive city at night, balancing the needs of residents, businesses and visitors. But businesses in Soho are concerned that the council is prioritising the demands of residents with a crackdown on noise and crime over their ability to survive in a difficult commercial climate. Our reporter Johnny Harvey has more.
Enhancing women's safety at night, tackling noise, crime and antisocial behaviour and diversifying away from alcohol-led late-night activity are all recommendations forming part of the proposed strategy for managing one of London's most lively areas between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. But businesses in Soho fear the reforms will reduce the area's vibrancy, which they say is already being challenged.
Soho invents itself. It always has. It always will. It will continue to grow and it will continue to develop. But right now, it's kind of in a struggling phase because the authorities are really being rather aggressive about enforcement. People will go elsewhere. I mean, they won't stop doing it. If you say you can't have a drink in Soho after 11 o'clock, then just nip over to Camden.
Many of these businesses are already suffering from a cost of operating crisis, so 30 to 40% more expensive to operate. And now we've just moved into a different period where taxation has really impacted. And many of these businesses will see between £30,000 and £80,000 worth of additional cost, which is going to push some of them over the edge. So the concern is with the economic climate and now some additional pressures in terms of enforcement or regulatory control, we are shifting into a new environment. And the worry is we're going to move towards almost a sanitisation of Soho, which is the concern for many businesses across Westminster, but particularly Soho, that really does need some love and rejuvenation.
So that's not our intention at all, to threaten the vibrancy of any part of our city. But we make no apology for the rules need to be followed, because in a modern city with so much competing interest for space, with people, with businesses, we need to make sure everybody follows the rules. So businesses were very much part of forming this strategy. We consulted wisely, we had very good input from the business improvement districts particularly, and this is about helping business thrive in the modern environment with the modern customer. Look, the world's changed. The expectations of visitors and people who go out are different to where they were 25 years ago. But equally, the expectations of residents have changed too. We need to find a way forward for everybody to get along together.
On Friday, it was announced that the government is looking at giving the mayor powers over licensing to support London's nightlife, enabling him to call in decisions about issues such as later opening hours. They say they want to ensure decisions are taken to promote growth in the capital, not block it.
I'm sure you'll both agree Soho's completely changed over the past few decades. Since I moved to London 20 years ago, you can see the visible changes. It's completely gentrified, isn't it? And where, Clive, do you think is the balance between safety and maintaining the vibrancy of Soho?
Well, I think we need to protect the nightlife of Soho in particular. I mean, it is not just something that Londoners enjoy. I can remember going to late night venues over there when I was a young person, but also for our tourist industry.
So is that being done at the moment?
I think it can be improved. I mean, we've lost a lot of it, particularly music venues disappearing at an alarming rate. Since 2020, it's gone down by about 30%, the night economy. And I think that's an important part of London's economy. Overall, the nighttime economy contributes something like £90 billion to it. So it's something we need to look after. So I think this initiative is a good one.
Yeah, Paul, what do you think about this? How much do you think that the local residents, their needs and concerns need to be taken into consideration rather than venues? And, we talk about the music scene, which has really decreased in recent years.
Now, I should declare an interest. I own a small bar in Westminster, and hospitality is facing an existential crisis at the moment, ever since the tourist cost of living crisis, made worse by what Labour have done with the hike in NI costs and more than doubling business rates. So hospitality is in real trouble. So I'm pleased that Westminster have recognised there's an issue. There's some good ideas in their plan, late night zones in Oxford Street and the Strand, that makes sense. But the feeling of the the business community is, of the nighttime economy is, they've not taken the worries of the nighttime economy properly. It's too much about enforcement, not about dealing with the underlying issues. We've got to do that, otherwise you'll just hollow out Westminster and there'll be no nighttime economy there.
So what needs to be done? What changes do you want to see brought in?
We need to talk to Westminster about changing their approach to enforcement. The Blue Note Jazz Club have been given a licence, but they have to close by 11 o'clock at night. Some nights. That's ridiculous for a jazz club. And why were they told they had to close at that time? Because of fear of crime by third parties, nothing to do with the Blue Note Jazz Club, about unlicensed taxi drivers. Excuses like that are simply not good enough.
Is this an excuse, or where do you balance safety issues over the need of people like you who are bar owners, music venue owners, to sustain a business?
Safety is always important. Of course it's important, but we need to deal with the underlying issues. If there are unlicensed taxi drivers, the police should be addressing that, not closing or stopping a new venue open late because they might arrive.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think to close a venue because of a third party might be breaking the law in some way. It seems ridiculous to me. But I think that's why this includes a panel to be set up to have a look at the licensing regime and the decisions that are being made. And I think that's a very good thing.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. I paid £500 for a pavement licence. We'd had a pavement licence before. That was rejected. Why? Because there were 2 objections to that pavement licence, even though there'd been no problems for the previous year when we'd had it. That sort of attitude to any objection simply stifles business.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the idea of London as a 24-hour city, I mean, is that pretty much dead at the moment? Do tourists come here and actually struggle to find anywhere that is open 24 hours when it comes to a bar or a club?
Well, we don't want to become a city that becomes known for shutting down, and where tourists want to go out late in the evening, maybe after a show, taking in a show or something. We want to have something that feeds that part of the economy and that part of the tourist economy.
So do you support the government's devolving of powers to the mayor to make these kind of decisions about
very
licensing?
much in favour of devolving powers to local authorities and the mayor in particular in this case. I think it's a good idea.
Paul?
Absolutely. I think it's a useful device to put some sense into what Westminster are doing. Their licensing regime is simply too restrictive.
So what would you say to the mayor in one sentence?
Please remember, hospitality is in existential crisis. We need your help.
OK, great. Well, lovely to hear from you both on this, and really interesting to hear your personal experience as well, Paul. Thank you very much. Well, that is all we have time for this week. My thanks to Paul and to Clive. I do hope you can join us again, same time, same place next week. Do enjoy the rest of your day, whatever you're doing. Thanks very much. Goodbye.